2 years ago, I found myself standing on my own front porch, suitcase in one hand, a crisp $10 bill in the other. My daughter, Chloe, had just shoved it into my palm with this cold, almost rehearsed smile. "For gas," she said, like she was doing me a favor. Behind her, the door clicked shut with the finality of a vault closing. That was the last time I stood in that house as anything more than a stranger. I can still hear the way her voice carried that day, calm, certain, like she'd been planning it for weeks. "You're a failure, Dan. Mom's right. You don't belong here anymore." That sentence didn't just bruise, it cut. And the truth, I didn't even fight back. I walked away because I had nothing left worth using as leverage. My marriage to Vanessa was already over in all but paperwork, and she'd been nesting with Derek for months before that afternoon. The motel I checked into smelled like bleach that couldn't quite hide the scent of cigarette smoke. Thin walls, thinner mattress. Dinner was instant noodles in a styrofoam cup. Breakfast was bitter instant coffee. I thought those days were far behind me, buried under decades of work, saving, and building what I thought was a stable life. Apparently, I was wrong. I replayed that moment, Chloe's hand pushing the $10 into mine, over and over again. I kept wondering if she'd always been capable of that kind of cruelty, or if Vanessa had been whispering poison in her ear for years. What was I supposed to do? Sit in that room and rot? No. Somewhere between the shame and the exhaustion, something took root. Determination. A kind I hadn't felt since my 20s. If I was going to survive, I couldn't just get back to where I was. I had to build something so big, so unshakable, that neither of them could ever touch me again. So I started with the only thing I had left, my hands. I took day labor jobs, construction cleanup, dishwashing, hauling junk for cash. My palms blistered, my back screamed at me every night. But slowly, a little money started to pile up. I saved every dollar I could, skipping meals if I had to. The turning point came when I spotted a listing for a condemned house. Most saw a worthless money pit, but I saw potential. I scraped together everything I had, signed my name to a deed that felt like a lifeline, and spent months teaching myself plumbing and electrical work through library books and online tutorials. By the time I sold it, the profit was enough to make me believe in myself again. That first win lit a fire. Every flip got bigger, every risk bolder. 2 years later, my portfolio was worth over $10 million. I'd gone from a roach-infested motel room to a home with Italian marble floors and a view of the lake that still stopped me in my tracks some mornings. But here's the thing. They didn't know any of that. Not until Chloe called out of the blue one rainy night, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Dad, I've missed you so much. We should have dinner, maybe start fresh." I didn't need to hear the rest to know exactly why she was calling. If you've ever gone through something like this, drop a comment. I'm listening. Okay, deep breath. Let me tell you everything. I wish I could tell you that when Chloe's name lit up my phone, I felt some kind of fatherly warmth, but all I felt was suspicion. After 2 years of silence, 2 years since she'd shoved me out the door, she suddenly wanted to catch up. The rain was tapping against the floor-to-ceiling windows in my home office, the city lights of Bellevue bleeding into the lake below. I'd been reviewing property listings, sipping an 18-year-old scotch when that call came through. I let it ring 3 times before I picked up. Her voice was exactly as I remembered, sweet, rehearsed, with just the right amount of fake vulnerability. "Dad, we're having dinner Saturday at the old house. Mom's making your favorite roast." The way she said Mom made my stomach turn. Vanessa, now Mrs. Derek Shaw, still played hostess, like the years of lies between us didn't exist. I agreed to come. Not because I wanted to see them, but because I knew this was going somewhere. I didn't have to wait long. The next morning, Vanessa called. She tried to coat her words in sugar, but it didn't hide the desperation. "It's about Chloe. She's having some unexpected financial issues. If you could help her out, maybe $50,000. It would solve everything." I almost laughed. $50,000? From the man they'd labeled a failure and thrown away? Then I heard Chloe's voice faintly in the background. "Ask for more, Mom." That told me everything I needed to know. So I decided to test them. The following day, I called Chloe back pretending to be devastated. I told her I'd lost almost everything in a sudden market crash. I even added that I was meeting with bankruptcy lawyers. There was a pause, 12 seconds exactly, before she said, "If so, then don't come to dinner Saturday." Not a single word of comfort. No, "we'll figure it out." Just a cold calculation that I was no longer useful. That's when I knew for certain. Any chance of reconciliation was a fantasy. And I also knew I wasn't just going to ignore this. I was going to find out exactly what they'd been doing these past 2 years. Monday morning, I walked into the glass-walled office of Elliot Graves, a former FBI agent turned private investigator. I handed him 2 folders, one for Chloe, one for Vanessa, and told him I wanted every legal vulnerability, every business deal, every piece of dirt that could be dug up. When the preliminary report came in, my jaw clenched so hard I thought I'd crack a tooth. Chloe had been running an online store called Luxe Nest Essentials, taking in $150,000 from customers and delivering almost nothing. Dozens of people were already complaining, some hinting at legal action. Vanessa wasn't any better. She'd been raising money on Instagram for a fake illness, pocketing over $200,000 in donations. I wasn't just dealing with betrayal anymore. I was looking at 2 professional con artists, and they had no idea I knew. Once I had Elliot Graves' report in my hands, I didn't feel anger so much as clarity. Every page was a blueprint for what I was going to do next. They hadn't just burned the bridge, they dynamited it and then tried to sell the rubble. I decided that if they were going to come to me with their hands out, I'd let them. I'd let them spin their stories, sell their lies, and walk themselves right into the trap I was building. 2 days after the first report, I called Chloe. This time, my voice was bright, even a little giddy. "Sweetheart, that emergency deal I told you about came through. Not only did I recover everything, I made another $3 million. I could practically hear her posture change on the other end of the line. The frost in her tone melted instantly. "That's incredible, Dad. I knew things would turn around. You're coming to dinner, right? We could talk about helping each other out." Helping each other out. I almost choked on the phrase. Still, I played along. I even asked her about her business. She brushed off the growing customer complaints as shipping delays, then asked for $200,000 to fix her cash flow problems. The nerve was almost impressive. That night, I called Elliot. It's time to take this further. The next morning, I was in the office of Samuel Trent, an old friend and one of the sharpest attorneys I knew. I laid out the entire situation, fraud records, victim lists, bank data. He didn't mince words. "She's looking at serious civil liability, maybe even felony charges if this goes to court." By the end of the day, we had the beginnings of a class action lawsuit. 23 victims, each one ready to go on record. Karen Mills, a teacher who'd paid $5,000 for a dining set that never existed, became our unofficial spokesperson. Meanwhile, Vanessa's turn was coming. Her fake medical fundraiser was a perfect candidate for public exposure. I arranged to meet with Alyssa Park, a seasoned investigative journalist who had a knack for dismantling social media scams. When I slid the file across the table, her skepticism vanished within minutes of reviewing the evidence. "If this checks out," she said, "this could be live within hours. The fallout will be significant." That was exactly what I wanted.
By Thursday evening, I had both the tax locked in. Chloe would be served with legal papers at 7:30 p.m. Saturday, right in the middle of family dinner. Vanessa's media reckoning would drop at exactly 8 p.m., timed for maximum impact. Everything was set. Now I just had to walk through their front door and smile like a man who'd forgotten the last 2 years.
Saturday night, I pulled into the driveway of the house I used to call home. From the outside, it still looked the same. Warm light spilling from the dining room windows, the kind of cozy picture perfect enough for a postcard. Inside, I knew the truth was rotting under the surface. I carried an elegant gift box under my arm. It was empty, but the wrapping was flawless, a little piece of theater for the night ahead. Vanessa opened the door wearing a practiced smile, the kind that used to fool me. "Martin, you look wonderful," she said, her tone syrupy and fake. The dining room was set for 4, Vanessa at one end, Chloe next to her, Derek hovering nearby like he wasn't sure where to stand. I sat down opposite them, placed the gift box on the side table, and let the small talk flow. Chloe eventually eased into her pitch, just like I knew she would. "Dad, since you've been so successful, maybe we could do a family investment together. $200,000 would solve some cash flow issues and set us up for amazing returns." I repeated the number slowly, as if considering it. 200,000. My eyes flicked to the clock. 7:29. The doorbell rang at exactly 7:30. Chloe hesitated, her expression twisting in annoyance, before she went to answer it. Through the dining room doorway, I saw Caleb Morris hand her a thick envelope. "Chloe Cole, you've been served with a class action lawsuit regarding fraudulent business practices." Her face went pale. Vanessa jumped in from the dining room, her voice rising. "This is ridiculous. We're having a family dinner." Chloe's hands trembled as she shuffled through the legal papers. 150,000? I don't have that kind of money. I sat there, calm, watching the first domino fall. Vanessa, still thinking she could steer the storm, pulled out her phone. "We'll get you a lawyer, Chloe. I know someone through Instagram." She stopped mid-sentence, her phone lighting up like a Christmas tree with notifications. Thousands of comments were pouring in, most calling her a fraud. The headline from Alyssa Park's article was everywhere. "Local influencers, fake illness exposed." Vanessa's breathing went shallow. She scrolled faster, as if she could erase the avalanche with her thumb. Derek's voice was low, dangerous. "Vanessa, what illness?" She stammered, but no lie came out clean. The room filled with the sound of both of them realizing just how exposed they were. And me? I just leaned back, hands folded, and said quietly, "It's called accountability."
The moment the word accountability left my mouth, the air in that dining room turned thick, heavy, like the pause before a thunderclap. Chloe was staring at the lawsuit in our hands, her lips moving silently as she reread the figures. I could see her doing the math, realizing there was no way out without someone else footing the bill. Vanessa was still glued to her phone, fingers trembling as she scrolled through comments. Every second brought more. Angry donors demanding refunds. Former followers tagging friends with messages like, "Told you she was fake." Screenshots of her old posts lined up next to her clean medical records. It was the kind of public exposure you couldn't buy your way out of. "Martin, you can't just leave us like this," Vanessa finally said, her voice cracking but still trying to command authority. "You have resources. We're family. You're supposed to help." Family? I let the word hang there, cold and sharp. 2 years ago, Chloe gave me $10 and told me to disappear. You both made it clear what my place was. Tonight is just a balance sheet catching up to reality. Derek shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his eyes darting between me and Vanessa. "Is it true? The fake illness?" His tone wasn't angry. It was something colder, strategic. Vanessa didn't answer him. She couldn't. Chloe finally looked up from the lawsuit, her voice brittle. "Dad, did you plan this?" I leaned forward just enough for my shadow to stretch across the table. I didn't lie to customers or steal donations meant for people who were actually sick. Actions have consequences. Tonight, you're just meeting yours. Vanessa's mask cracked, desperation spilling out. "We can fix this. We'll sell the house, pay off the lawsuits, and start over." "No," Derek cut in, his voice flat. "You'll deal with this. I'm not tying myself to your mess." The sound of his chair scraping back was loud in the silence. He walked out without another word. Chloe turned to me, panic finally visible. "So you're just gonna walk away? Leave us with nothing?" I stood, straightened my jacket, and looked her in the eye. 2 years ago, you left me with less than nothing. Tonight, I'm leaving you with exactly what you've earned. The clock hit 8:05. Outside, I could hear the faint echo of a neighbor's TV, a laugh track from some comedy show. Inside, neither of them was laughing. I walked toward the front door without rushing, letting the weight of the moment stretch in the air behind me. Vanessa was still frozen in her chair, staring at her phone like she could will the notifications to stop. Chloe trailed a step behind me, voice shaking. "Dad, wait, we can work this out, please." I stopped at the threshold and turned to face them. 2 years ago, you both made a choice. You traded integrity for convenience, loyalty for greed. I learned to live without you. Now you'll learn to live without me. Vanessa's face hardened, the desperation flickering into something like anger. "You think this makes you better than us?" "No," I said quietly. "It makes me free from you." I stepped outside into the cool March night, the air damp from an earlier rain. From the sidewalk, I could see them both through the dining room window. Vanessa frantically typing on her phone, Chloe rifling through the lawsuit papers like she might find a hidden loophole if she looked hard enough. Derek was nowhere in sight. By the time I got back to my car, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Samuel Trent. Process server confirmed completion. Press coverage gaining traction. IRS investigation scheduled for Monday. I drove away with the kind of calm that comes from knowing every move landed exactly where it was meant to. The city lights reflected off the wet pavement, and for the first time in a long while, I felt lighter. 4 months later, I was standing barefoot on a beach in Maui, watching the sunset turn the sky into molten gold. My phone rang. It was Samuel again. Chloe had been hit with the maximum civil judgment, $153,000 in restitution plus court costs, 3 years probation, and a permanent criminal record. Vanessa had been audited, slapped with penalties that wiped out every asset she'd built through her scam, and banned from every major social media platform. Derek had filed for divorce within weeks of that dinner. As the waves erased my footprints in the sand, Laura Bennett, an attorney I'd met on a hiking trip in Yellowstone, walked up beside me. "You seem lighter," she said. I smiled. "That's because I finally understand something. Some people earn their place in your life. Others just rent space until you evict them." The tide came in, the horizon swallowed the last of the sun, and I knew that while the scars were permanent, the weight was finally gone. Looking back now, I don't feel the rush of satisfaction I expected. Justice was served, yes, but it wasn't about winning. It was about ending something that had been rotting in my life for years. When I first stepped out of that motel room 2 years ago, I thought my future would be defined by what I'd lost. But standing here now, I see it differently. My future was defined by what I chose not to carry anymore. The guilt, the longing, the belief that family loyalty was unconditional no matter how badly you were treated. Chloe and Vanessa's downfall wasn't my doing alone. Their actions built the walls around them. I just turned on the light so they could see them. And while a part of me still wishes things could have been different, I've accepted that you can't save people who are committed to drowning in their own lies. The beach in Maui was a quiet place to realize all this. The waves didn't care about lawsuits or Instagram scandals. The horizon didn't care about betrayal. And maybe that's the point. Life keeps going whether you're ready or not. Now my days are filled with work I'm proud of, relationships built on respect, and the quiet knowledge that I survived something meant to break me. The scars will always be there, but they remind me of the truth. I am worth more than the price someone else put on me. 2 years ago, $10 was all they thought I was worth. Today, my value isn't measured in money. It's measured in the life I've rebuilt and the peace I've found in walking away.